are lessons you've learned from your failures that are the wrong lessons. Because every unsuccessful weight loss attempt ends in one of four ways, often with the wrong lesson learned at each ending. And it is these four wrong lessons that keep you trapped in a prison of unsuccessful weight loss attempt after unsuccessful weight loss attempt. To understand these wrong lessons, we must first rewind at the start of any weight loss attempt. You have done your research and come up with nutrition and exercise targets to meet. So you start meeting those targets and you're succeeding. You see a 3-pound weight loss just 2 days in. You're super excited. 1 week passes by and your weight keeps coming off. 2 weeks and the trend continues. You picture the trend holding until you reach your goal. And then suddenly, the unexpected happens. Here's where the road forks into the 4 unsuccessful endings, each with the wrong lesson. Ending 1 happens when you're seeing weight loss, but you become bored. You're doing the same things day in, day out, checking off the same habits every single day. You start to think, is this it? Is this the rest of my life? And so you stop doing the things you were doing and progress halts. The lesson you take away is, I need to find something more exciting. Wait, I'm not saying you need to grit your teeth and keep doing boring stuff, not at all. Stick with me and I'll explain later what's really the right lesson. Oh, and it would be cool to compare notes, so each time I say the wrong lesson, comment below with what you guess is the right lesson. Okay, now it's possible you didn't get bored. Instead, you landed at ending 2 where you got burnt out. The nutrition and exercise targets are all working, if only you could keep at it. But you're exhausted. You feel like you just don't have the energy to keep denying yourself things you enjoy, like a favorite treat or just a good Netflix session on the couch, you know? And one day it becomes too much, so you stop. And then so does your progress. After a while, you start regretting having stopped. You think the lesson is, this method works, I just need more willpower. Alright, so let's say neither of these happened and you ended up at ending 3. This is where your progress got really slow. Like those first few weeks, you were seeing 2 to 3 pound drops, but then it slows down to less than 2 pounds, then 1 pound, and now for the past week, it's less than 1 pound. You're thinking, this is not what I see online. I must be doing something wrong. And so you stop what you're doing and start researching the next thing. The wrong lesson you learned is, this method doesn't work for me. Not exactly. Hint, you gotta account for things not in your control. We'll talk more about this. Okay, last possible ending. This is the one where you kept doing everything and yet your progress halted. Either your weight is literally stuck or it's fluctuating between the same few pounds for several weeks. The wrong lesson you learn is, this method doesn't work anymore. I need to find another method. Now let's revisit each ending and figure out what's the right lesson. Rewinding back to ending 1 where you got bored and stopped, the wrong lesson was, I need to find something more exciting. Why is this wrong? You know what? Let's hit play and see what happens. You research a lot and find a new exciting method. You start doing it and progress happens. Yay! You happily keep doing it until it's the same things day in, day out, checking off the same habits every single day. You start to think, is this it? Is this the rest of my life? And you stop doing the things you were doing and progress halts. Do you see why trying to find something exciting is the wrong lesson? You're going to be endlessly cycling through weight loss methods while your progress suffers. So what do? The thing you need to realize is you're confusing 2 types of problems. Type 1 problems are problems that can be solved. For example, you don't like cooking? Get packaged foods, subscribe to a meal delivery service, arrange potlucks every other day. You see what I mean? It's a problem that you can solve. While type 2 are problems that cannot be solved. They must be managed, like our human need for variety and stability. You can't only have variety because then you never do anything long enough to see results. But you also can't only have stability because that gets boring. Humans need stimulation. The right lesson then is not, I need to find something more exciting, but rather, I need to rebalance variety and stability in my life. In my life. Your life is broader than nutrition and exercise, right? You can start a new project that introduces variety in your life, and you'll be thankful that your nutrition and exercise is boring, so you have the time and energy to give this new project. For example, some of our Badass Body Boss students who are into interior decoration have rearranged their furniture, while others decide to explore a new route to work every day. Or your project could be cooking related or sports related. Just keep the same nutrition and exercise targets, but swap out what you exactly do to meet them. So the right lesson for ending 1 is not find a more exciting method, but rather rebalance variety and stability in my life as a whole. Now let's move on to ending 2, where you got burnt out. The wrong lesson was, this method works, I just need more willpower. Let's dig into this logic. When do you not need willpower? When you're doing something ingrained in your usual habits. When do you apply willpower, yet find it not enough? When the thing you're trying to do is far beyond your usual habits. What would be the hard thing to do? Keep my targets beyond my usual habits and try to reach them anyway. What would be the easier thing to do? Set my targets to just one level up from my usual habits. Do you see that the problem isn't with your willpower, but with the method? You need to bring the method closer to your current locus of willpower. So the right lesson is not, I need more willpower, but rather, how can I change things so I need less willpower? Next is ending 3, where weight loss slowed down a lot compared to the start. The wrong lesson there was, this method doesn't work for me. So here's a real weight loss graph from a Badass Body Boss student of ours. Look at the number of spikes. Each number here is taken 1 week after the previous number. So for every 3 weeks of progress, Sarah spends 3 weeks in a weight gain episode. But that's fine because afterward she falls below her previous lowest weight. And here's another Badass Body Boss student. Each dot is 1 week after the previous dot. So here again, we see 2 weeks in a plateau / gain, then again, then 3 weeks plateau, then 4 weeks plateau. And yet, if we zoom out, progress keeps happening. And similar story with this Badass Body Boss student. Is this just Badass Body Boss students, or is this what you'll see in every program? Well, if you have been doing weight loss for a while, you know the answer. This is what real weight loss looks like in any method. Okay, but why? Why does this happen? There are biological reasons for it, which you can find in my weight loss plateau videos, but in this video, I want to zoom out beyond human biology to answer this question, because this is a universal phenomenon. Stick with me on this short experiment and you'll understand why your weight loss graph looks like the way it does. Okay, so let's take this experiment of a coin flip. Now, mathematically, you know that there's a 50% chance of heads and a 50% chance of tails. So I'm gonna flip this twice and then we'll see what happens. So that's heads right there. And now I'm gonna flip it again and let's see what we get. That is heads again. Now, because there's a 50-50 chance, you would think there would be heads and then there would be tails, or you would think that it would be tails and then it would be heads again. So how is this possible? You know what, for now, let's flip this 3 more times, so for a total of 5, and then see what happens. Okay, I got heads again, flipping it 1 more time. Oops, that went away. But, oh, heads again, so that's 4 times in a row. Okay, last time, let's flip it again. And we get tails now. Okay, so we got 4 heads and 1 tail. That is definitely not 50-50. But if I kept flipping this coin for a large number of times, like let's say 1,000 times, you can bet that if we sum up the tails and the heads across all of those 1,000 tosses, they would add up to 50-50. They just don't when you're doing 5 tosses. So this is the expectation for how many heads should happen as I keep flipping the coin, and yet the actual total of heads with every flip looks like this. Does this graph look like another very familiar graph? And this happens not just in coin tosses and weight loss, but literally any arena where performance is being evaluated. Business, sports, you name it. This phenomenon is called regression to the mean, which is a fancy way to say that in any event where chance is involved, extreme outcomes are followed by more moderate outcomes. So the right lesson here is the slowdown is a regression to the mean given the extreme outcomes you had at the start. You should keep going. Now onto the final ending, where even when looking over several weeks, your progress has stalled. The wrong lesson there was, this method doesn't work anymore, I need to find another method. Okay, let's rewind to the start. Let's say you had been doing intermittent fasting. What this required from you was eating only during your eating windows. Pretty minimal requirements. Now, because your progress got stuck, you decide intermittent fasting doesn't work, research for a new method, and decide on low carb. You just tripled the requirements on yourself. You need to meal plan, make the meals, and when eating out, evaluate what actually is low carb and not get tempted by carby goodness. That's a big change. It's like you spent 3 months learning how to play tennis and then chucked it all out to learn basketball. You're back to square one learning all the fundamentals from scratch. But instead, if you switch to table tennis or badminton, many of the fundamentals of tennis still cross over, so you're not starting from square one. And that's exactly what you need to do here. Instead of chucking everything you got into the habit of doing, practice the right lesson. Ask yourself, what parts do I keep and what parts do I add or tweak to break the plateau? So going back to our example of intermittent fasting stopping working, instead of switching to low carb, which is totally unrelated to intermittent fasting, you could as a next step just track your calories for a week and see where most of your calories are coming from. Say you figure out it's because of this giant smoothie you have 4 days a week, then you can go back to not calorie counting and only add drinking that smoothie once a week as a requirement. Look, practicing these right lessons requires a big mindset shift to not panicking and evaluating objectively what's happening. This is hard to do when it's your blood, sweat, and tears on the line. So if you want me as the objective coach to help you learn the right lessons every time, check out the free sneak peek to my Badass Body Boss program linked in the description and comments below. And beware, this video only covered the wrong lessons from your experience, so check out this video to see all the wrong lessons you have learned from others, the gurus and influencers out there. And always remember, you can do it.